Chairman Markey, and members of the subcommittee. I'm Rich Powell, and I lead ClearPath. ClearPath advances policies to accelerate breakthrough innovations that reduce emissions in the energy and industrial sectors. An important note, we're supported by philanthropy, not industry. Climate change is real, and industrial activity around the globe is the dominant contributor. We believe the challenge it poses to society merits significant action at every level of government and the private sector. I have spent my entire career working on climate change solutions, including my time working with energy companies and governments in Indonesia, Malaysia, and Singapore. Jakarta, Indonesia, which I called home, is a relevant case study. Given its proximity to low-lying rivers, extreme precipitation, a rising sea, rapid growth, and over-extraction of groundwater, the city is literally sinking. Indonesia is made up of highly populated islands and some of the largest remaining rainforests in Southeast Asia. It's rich in people and culture and quite poor in open, available land. That makes relying heavily on land-hungry clean energy, like wind and solar, entirely unrealistic, as it is for much of the region. To further complicate matters, Indonesia is also rich in coal, and developing countries continue to turn to coal as it remains cheap, abundant, and reliable. This is a microcosm of the wider region. Given your role in America's response to the global climate challenge, I will discuss three key topics. First, the global emissions landscape. Asian emissions driven by China could eclipse America's emissions efforts. Second, an innovation-driven policy agenda to cut the cost of clean technologies for developing countries. And third, opportunities to build on your strong bipartisan clean energy innovation priorities. U.S. lawmakers, Republicans and Democrats, and businesses are prioritizing climate solutions. But while the U.S. reversed our emissions trajectory, much of the rest of the world is growing their emissions as they grow their populations, industries, and quality of life. To remain competitive with China, U.S. energy policy must synchronize with the global challenge. Even if the U.S. somehow eliminated all of its carbon emissions tomorrow, just the growth in emissions from today through 2050 by developing Asian countries would exceed total U.S. emissions today. Unfortunately, today's clean technology is not up to the task of global economy-wide decarbonization. We need to focus on breakthrough technologies that offer both better performance and lower costs than the traditional emitting technologies in the market. China's not making this challenge easier. Greenhouse gas emissions in China tripled between 1999 and 2019 and accounted for 27% of global emissions in 2019, more than the entire developed world combined. Looking ahead, China has only committed to stopping new coal by 2026, locking in those emissions for decades to come. China is also the largest public financier of coal plants globally, but its overseas support is dwarfed by its own domestic development. Last year, China brought 38 gigawatts of coal online, more than 3 times the rest of the world combined. China's Belt and Road Initiative makes it very cheap and straightforward for developing countries to electrify their economies by building new coal plants. Leaders in these nations would likely prefer to build clean energy, but their top priority is getting electricity turned on. So, new subcritical coal plants and outdated, extremely high-emitting, inefficient, but very cheap technology are what they often choose, and China helps pay the bills. Meanwhile, our export credit agencies are lagging. By statute, EXIM is only empowered to prioritize clean investments in renewables and energy storage. As Dr. Pershing also suggested, we can assemble better packages that offer like-for-like substitutes to the subcritical Chinese coal plants, like advanced nuclear or natural gas with carbon capture. A no-regrets policy shift would be to expand the EXIM Transformational Exports Program to put all clean energy on the same footing. The United States can truly lead on reducing global emissions. But there is no tax or domestic regulation that will magically halt emissions around the world. We must focus on strengthening the American economy, not ceding ground to China or Russia. There is a path to reducing global CO2 emissions and creating new American jobs. It's a simple 4-step plan. Innovate, permit, build, and then export. First, we must innovate. This means developing clean technologies the world wants to buy that give America a competitive advantage. Second, we must eliminate unnecessary regulatory hurdles that slow down permitting innovative technology. To that effect, I'd like to draw your attention to the findings of the recent bipartisan Aspen Institute Cleaner, Faster dialogue. Third, we must demonstrate how the technology works. If we don't see American innovations from R&D through commercialization, our basic research here is only welfare for China. They have proven they will take our innovations and run with them, as you mentioned earlier, Mr. Chairman. And fourth, we must export the proven U.S. technology and create new clean energy markets. Innovations must work not only in America, but also apply to Myanmar or Malaysia, given their development goals. As you craft this agenda, and I cannot underscore this enough, partisan climate policy is not sustainable. It results in short-term uncertainty and does not provide the market signals we need to move to a clean energy economy. We can start by building on recent bipartisan wins. In addition to the bipartisan authorizations in the Energy Act of 2020, the most recent FY20 and 21 appropriations bills are great successes. Investments for clean energy demonstrations for carbon capture, advanced nuclear, grid-scale long-duration energy storage, enhanced geothermal, hydrogen, and direct air capture should remain at the core of any bipartisan policy. Thank you for this opportunity. We applaud the committee for taking on this important task.
Thank you, Mr. Powell. Thank you.